You've been tough on Iran. You took the decision to eliminate Qasem Soleimani. How are you going to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapon?
Well, I'd rather not say that to you, but they won't acquire it. Now they may get it if they get it very quickly. I'm not president, so I won't have much to do with that. And I have respect for Iran. I have respect for the people. I know a lot of Iranian people. They're very smart, actually great negotiators, great business people. They're great people. They're very warm people. I wanted to do, as a country, I wanted to do great. Now it's in its own way, it's probably in danger, maybe more so than they would have thought a month ago, right, with what's happening. I think it's in a lot of danger right now, which is, very bad. I don't want to see people killed. Everyone's being killed in the Middle East. I don't want to see that. But no, I think we would have had something. I think we would have had something very special. We'll still have something, but so much damage has been done to the world, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's large sections of the Middle East. I mean, look at the death and destruction that's taken place. And none of this would have happened if I were president.
What about the Israeli attack? They keep saying that Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to hit Iran. Maybe not necessarily the nuclear facilities, maybe the oil facilities or elsewhere. Would you support that if you were a president?
Well, I think he's going to do what he wants to do, and I think he has to do that. Biden was giving him some very bad. Look, Biden has been historically horrible on foreign policy, incompetent, I would say. What you do is anything he says, do the opposite, and you'll be brilliant if you do the opposite. But he gave him instructions not to do anything, and Israel was under great danger. They're under much less danger right now than they were 1 month ago. Let's face it. I mean, you saw the attack on October 7th. That was horrible. I've seen tapes that other people haven't seen, and what happened there was horrible. That can't be allowed to happen. But if you think that would have never happened, so the whole thing wouldn't have happened. That was the problem. And now still you have hostages, but many of them have been killed. And I'm sure many of them are dead. It's a very sad thing. What's going to happen when they find out that there are very few hostages, which is probably what they're going to find out?
You actually told Hamas, you said, you threatened them. You said you have to release these hostages before I reach the White House.
Yeah.
So do you think, what can be done?
Well, I would have said they have to release them immediately. I think if I said it, they would have done it. I think the hostages would have been back home. But I think even early on, I think a lot of those hostages were dead. I think they were dead. I mean, it's a very sad thing. It's not even believable when you think about it. But I think pretty early on, there were a lot that were gone. And, just God rest their souls, to live that way and to, spend. And these were largely young people that were having a good time at a festival. Life was a bowl of cherries, right? And they're dead. It's a very sad thing. But it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen when they find out there are fewer than they thought, and it could be by a staggering number.
What about the destruction and the death of civilians? Do you think that's tolerable price that Israel's doing in Gaza and in Lebanon now?
Oh, the destruction's terrible. The whole thing is terrible. It should have never happened. If October 7th wouldn't happen, which it wouldn't have, because Iran funds it, and Iran had no money. They had no money. They had absolutely no money. And I would have made a deal with them, and they wouldn't have done October 7th. But because they have no respect for Biden, they did it. And then it began. That was like just a terrible thing. But it began because of that, because of October 7th. You certainly can't blame Israel for hitting back, and they hit back hard, much harder than anybody would have thought. And then they send missiles in, and they were all knocked down, 187 missiles. Those missiles were knocked down. And now everybody's waiting for Israel to
retaliate,
make a move. I mean, it's a bad situation. Should have never happened.
Talking about Iran, also I want to ask you about the Houthis. So the US and the UK has formed a military coalition. Do you think it's working? What would you have done differently if you were a president?
Well, number one, somebody's got to stop the ships from being shot out of the water. You have a lot of missiles are going right at ships and hitting them much worse than people know. It's been pretty bad. You can't even use it. That's your main travel lane. They can't use it. They have to find other ways. It's very expensive and really not even doable. Somebody has to make sure that doesn't happen. Absolutely.